Yeah. Well, I mean, kind of, yeah.
I can't remember. There's a lot of myth too about I can't remember. And I actually might have said this to someone back in the day about you passing out in the booth when you were singing for the 10-inch. I think wasn't there a moment where you're like, guys, I have to stop?
Yeah, no, I did. But I got to that point and I had to do a couple of retakes, and then I was just like, oh, and my voice just gave out. I couldn't do it anymore. And when it happened, I kind of collapsed on the floor. I didn't pass out, but I just kind of slumped and sat down very quickly and was just like, I can't go anymore. And you can hear it in the song, towards the end of the song, right? Where, do you guys know which song I'm talking about? Where it has the melodic part at the end.
Yeah, I think so.
It's the third song in the orchestra. Well, anyway, you can hear it there are two measures where I'm supposed to be singing full sentences, but I don't. I'm just it's kind of bah bah, and then it goes into the melodic part. And so I took a break, and then I continued on a little while later. That was part of it why I decided to stop singing that way. But I mean, yeah, it just started to hurt after a while. But really, the main reason was just I didn't feel like singing that way anymore. I was more just I'm gonna do this new thing now. As part of that, I had worked out those problems lyrically that I was having, right? And then I got into this new cynical place, and I felt like, okay, I'm gonna sing like a cynical circus announcer, and it just seemed like a natural progression to me. So for all the people that wonder, why is he doing that? Did he get cancer or blew out his vocal cords? I mean, I needed cancer, but a little bit of the vocal cord thing. But I certainly couldn't sing that way today, nor would I want to. Sometimes I listen back and I'm like, I could have done it a little differently. But that's the story behind it. I just doing all those tracks back to back just really killed me. So
yeah, it's funny because I think people also wondered why you didn't use a microphone. My reply would just because you didn't need the microphone to get your point across. Because you weren't singing into a microphone to project your message onto the audience. You were singing because you had to, and it was for you.
Yeah.
So a lot of people didn't really understand that at the time.
Yeah. Well, the story behind that. So it was one of our first shows, very early. Remember that show we played in? I want to say it was in Madison. It was like a VFW hall or something. So we're playing. I don't even remember who played.
It was
remember that show?
Well, Amalgamation played that show.
Did Amalgamation play that show? It was maybe our third or fourth show, I think.
Yeah.
And I remember I was just, how we looked when we played live. Nick and I are bouncing all over the place, right? And I'm sitting there trying to get back to the mic in time, and I just kept hitting my teeth on the mic, and I was like,
were you getting shocked?
No, I wasn't getting shocked. That was later on when we broke the ground on my amp, and then you were shocking me. That was much later. But I kept hitting my teeth, and I was like, fuck, this hurts. And I got so mad, I just kicked the mic stand across the room. And I was like, I don't fucking need it. So I was just like, I'm going to just do it without it for the rest of this time. And that's where it came from. And then, people had all their ideas about it, but really it was just like, it didn't make sense.
Yeah,
it didn't make sense. I was like, it's not important. I don't need it. I'm gonna I was pissed off, right? And I was gonna let people hear what came out. I wasn't trying to do some artistic thing where my singing, a lot of people hate it. And like I said, this day, I'm like, I don't know. Maybe I would do it differently. I mean, there are people that love it too, but I mean, it was just such a catharsis for me to sing that way. So I just didn't need it.
Yeah.
And then when we changed, then I was like, okay, now I need this again. And it's funny you said things seemed controlled, and yeah, that's a great way of putting it, because then I was more in control of myself while I was playing the music, and I wasn't smashing my teeth into the mic anymore. I was like, okay, well, here I am, and I'm going to be able to do what I need to do to sing through this microphone now. So.
Yeah, that kind of goes back to the three different phases of the band, right? Where it starts off where it's just like you didn't feel like the mic was necessary, but then you fast forward to our final iteration, you decided to introduce a microphone because it was a different approach. And the other thing I thought was kind of cool is that you decided to get a harmonica microphone versus a regular vocal mic. And it's kind of funny because I feel like back then I can't even remember why you got that, but it just, the whole thing just works. I mean, again, this organic progression of musical choice and like lyrical choice and aesthetics and all that. Like, it's just kind of cool how we started off as one thing and in a very short time became something else. And I think it's because we never fought our sort of, wherever our creativity took us, we didn't really let anything dictate it but our own decision. Our own decisions, you know.
Yeah. And nobody ever shut down anybody's creativity, really. Yeah, no. We all listened and fed off of it. You know, you never really argued or fought.
No, 100%. I mean, that's why I just feel like the dynamic we had was one that you can never really replace. It was a thing that we all kind of brought our own strengths to the table, and there was no resistance or it was really a collaborative flow, and we kind of put our own pieces together, and they just fit seamlessly almost every time. And I'll never forget when, I don't know if you guys remember, but like I feel like our gauge to know whether or not a song was right was when we would stop and we would all laugh out loud. Which is ironic because the music is really heavy and charged, but when we would stop, we would just break out in laughter.
Yeah. I think it was just the ridiculousness of it. Like, damn, really?
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. And
kind of the best of both worlds.
Yeah. Yeah. And then Nick would put his guitar stuff to it, and then we just go like, we both look at him like, what? What land are you from?
Well, there were a few times where, you know, both of you guys, you kind of came out with stuff that I just did not expect to hear. And funnily enough, like, they're on both ends of the spectrum as far as volume is concerned, right? Like, you know, one in particular I'm thinking of is when we played or recorded It's More Like a Message to You. And that song where it was me and you, Jeff, when we played the quiet part at the end, you know. Mm-hmm. And, you know, because those quiet parts that I would play, and you played that bass, your bass line is what really made that riff. Mm-hmm. And I when I first heard that, it just made like my stomach do something. Like it just gave that, it had just evoked that weird, unexplainable, like visceral feeling. It was like, it felt like orchestral. It felt, or it sounded like what you would hear on a film score or something. Just like that perfect vibration between the note you played and whatever was being played on guitar. And, you know, initially I didn't hear that in my head when I wrote that little part, but then you gave it a life that was completely out of left field. And, you know, same with you, Nick, like stuff you would play on top of a riff that I would show you or something, and suddenly you would make the discordant even more discordant, or you would, you know, make something melodic even more melodic. Like it was, I still can't understand the stuff that you guys would put onto these songs. But again, to your point about the collaboration aspect and how there was no real creative hindrance. I feel like we all kind of bounced off of each other, and there was a mutual respect towards what each of us brought. You know.
Mhm. I don't think a lot of people realize too is like how much the bass actually adds to like the stuff that I'm playing. Because it's not like he's just playing bass like most people do, holding a note. He's actually playing, chords. You know what I mean? Not exactly the same chords that I'm playing, a little bit further down, which gives it a completely new sound. You know what I mean?
Jeff never played really ever a traditional bass line. It was always like a full.
It definitely made it a lot fuller. Yeah, it's a lot thicker.
I guess that's why you can describe it as more like a rhythm guitar player.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, and together musically, between Nick's guitar playing and your bass playing and my drumming, I can almost equate. I think about like a pinball machine. That's kind of like how it works. Like we were basically a living pinball machine.
I don't know how you played some of the shit that you played, man, on that drum set.
Yeah.
Even now I listen to it, I'm just like, Jesus.
I mean, I don't. Again, my whole thing was no different than both of you guys and what you did, because it was just what came out. Like how could I tell you what time signatures those riffs were in? No, absolutely not. Can I tell you what chords they were played in? No, I don't. I couldn't play an E chord for you, but I just had shit in my head, just like you guys, and I wrote these parts based on what I was hearing in my head, and it was very much percussively. That's what influenced the sort of ricocheting. You know what I mean? That's kind of what influenced the sort of nonsensical time patterns. But what I loved is that you guys fucking knew exactly what to do with it, and I don't know how you did that, but you did, and I think we were just in a collective headspace where it just made sense. It's like this musical schizophrenia sort of made sense to all three of us, and I think that's why it works. It's not like we had to spend hours learning how to play this stuff. We would run the songs like 5 times or something and be like, okay, what's next? And to me, that's a good marker of an effective dynamic between players. But again, I think it's clear that for us, it wasn't about how technical we could be or how fast we could play. That's just what we did, and we did it to the best of our ability. And it came out the way it came out because it was a direct extension of us being creative together. I'll always value that. I mean, I was going to say before, Nick, that like after the different brands of bands that I've played with since JD, I've never had the same creative fulfillment as I had with JD and you guys, with any other band that I've played with. And that was also a marker of how, actually I was going to say that's a marker of how things changed over time, but really that was just me trying to dabble with what the other side would have been like, like.
Yeah. I hear you, because everybody you play with, it's a different experience, like, I don't know, it either just meshes and gels, or it's like we were all tapped into like a collective consciousness, and we were just making it happen without even realizing what we were doing,
Everything you guys are saying, like, fucking, it rings true to this day, and I think another thing it reminds me of is what our intent was as a band, and it kind of just to your point, to what you just said, is like we had a collective consciousness, and what I experienced with playing with other people, it wasn't that at all, and I was miserable for it. It just didn't work. I think I was probably spoiled in a way by having the experience we had together, because a lot of people who play music, they want to quote unquote be big, or quote unquote sell records, or quote, it's like the
sound like this band, do this.
Yeah, it's like oh, let's pull from this genre, or and it fucking sucks, man. Like, you come out with a shitty product,
Yeah.
You know, if you want to call it that, it doesn't work half the time, or most of the time.
No, it's crazy to think how long it's been. I don't know. I can't believe I've never done anything afterwards, to be honest. I don't know. It's like every time I've found people to play with, and I just never have, like, I don't know, like you were saying before, like that connection, and I don't know. That doesn't help things.
Well, that's what I was talking about earlier, and I wanted to come back to. So I did something. There was even a little bit of overlap with JD and the Wind-Up Bird that I did.
Mm-hmm.
And it was actually really good for me. I did have a really good connection with Joe. But when that ended, then I just didn't even try again. I was like, I know that I'm never going to be able to find. And I always had that feeling in my head when we were playing together. I was like, I'm never going to find, like, later on down the road when we all go do different things, I'm never going to find somebody or a group of people that I can connect with the way I do with these two guys. And so I didn't even try. I was like, I'm not even going to try. So I did my thing with Joe and the Wind-Up Bird, and then then I moved to California, and I did some stuff on my own, but I never released it. I'm just sitting on all of it, but it's like totally different. I mean, if anybody out there has listened to the Wind-Up Bird, they know it was a completely different thing than JD was. And then what I did by myself after that it's a further extension of the Wind-Up Bird, but I guess I would say more maybe it bridged the gap between the Wind-Up Bird and JD, and that it was sometimes very beautiful and sometimes very noisy and hard to listen to. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know if I'll ever release it, but if anybody out there wants to hear it, then you can get in touch with me. I'll send it to you. But yeah. So
email Jeff at DIYisgood@AOL.com.
I wonder where that would go. Back to them. Yeah.
Although I think your email address is probably the best of the three. Like you could still get away with that. I don't think Nick or myself can get away with our.
No, it's true.
Like the trajectory I had musically after JD was completely different, and an experience for sure. But it's funny because my experience with you guys and playing in JD really set a certain approach to anything I did afterwards, and in particular, and I didn't really do anything after JD until I joined that band, The Virgins, which was kind of a fluke, because I had just moved to New York for school, and this friend of mine said, "Hey, you play drums. You should try out for this band. They've been looking for a drummer. They can't find one. You should totally do it." And I was like, and I hadn't played drums in actually quite a long time, because I was just in New York and I had nowhere to play, and I decided to do it. I decided to just say fuck it and try it, and I rehearsed with them. I got it, and then I suddenly found myself in a band that was completely different from what I was used to with playing with you guys, and it was actually a hard adjustment to make. And I did that, and I felt like I was having to, I was trying to adjust the whole time I was in the band, just never quite clicked in with them, and that was that. But it was definitely an experience for sure, different. It was a different world, a different musical world playing with that kind of band versus a punk rock band, But when it comes to complete artistic, creative freedom, there's nothing that rivals JD, without question.
It's like, do you want to be your own boss and be in a band like JD, or do you want to go work for a corporation? Then do the other thing.
Right.
So.
And I've gotten to this point, in my old age of 38, where, you know, I like this idea of tapping back into the roots of you know, or the mentality of JD, but I just don't know how I would do that. I mean, I could try to do something on my own, but I always think about how I wouldn't be able to do it without you guys, you know, like I could could maybe record something myself, but it wouldn't be. And I guess you shouldn't try to like replicate something that's already been done. Like we did it the way we did it. I guess anything that any three of us would pursue, it wouldn't be the same. It just wouldn't. You know. That's okay too. You know.
Yeah.
So I think it's just right timing, right place, right everything. You know.
Yeah.
You know, 20 years later, and here we are, kind of reflecting on the stuff that we made together. It's pretty great. I'm so glad we got to fucking rally and just do this. You know, because when you think about it, 20 years, man. You know, a lot happens in 20 years.
A lot.
More time has passed than we were old when we started. That's scary.
Yeah. I was about to turn 20 when JD became a band. So now I'm about to be 40. So literally half my life.
That's so crazy. Well, you know, maybe at some point, if a miracle happens, we'll end up in the same room together at some point and could do a similar thing. But maybe just I mean, it'd be kind of cool to do like a photo shoot or something, or like get our instruments out, or like, I don't know. What I've learned over these years is that you only have so much time on this earth, as we all very well know, and you just gotta like make it count. You know what I mean? It's like you do your day to day, you pay your bills, you know, you do the daily stuff that keeps you going. But sometimes if you go a little bit further, you know, it's stuff like this that we can kind of mark, I guess, and to kind of tap back into.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Let's
lost my train of thought as I was going, but you know what I'm saying.
Let's talk a little bit about shows that we remember and that were important to us.
I don't know, Nick. What
I want to know because you and I have talked about this a couple times over the years, but I really want to know what Nick remembers, what stands out to him.
There was a house show we played. I don't remember even what state it was in. I remember it was in the Midwest.
You're probably thinking of Sioux Falls.
Yeah, it was Sioux Falls. Yeah. I remember that show. That show was just awesome. I don't know. Just the whole vibe of the place is, it's just like, I don't know. You know what I mean. You know, without saying it, it was just one of those shows that you remember, even though I don't remember what the hell it was.
I know, I get bits and pieces that just hit me sometimes. I'm like, oh, where is that from? You know. But Sioux Falls, I can remember Sioux Falls where we pull up in the van, or it was us and Orchid. And we played there 2 times, but the first time that we played there, we pull up and it was just the 2 of us driving, and then I think I was driving and maybe Will was driving the Orchid van, and we pull up and it's just this house with a wraparound porch, and all the kids are just sitting there with their legs hanging off over the edge of the porch through the rungs of the railing, and I think we were pretty late to the show.
We were.
I can't remember why, but we were running late, and we're like, man, we hope that they'll still do the show and kids don't leave. And we get there, and there's just like all these kids, right? And the house was full when we played, and we played in this living room, and it was really dark in there.
There was a looming thunderstorm outside. Like, remember? Like, it was
so the clouds, the sky was really ominous, and I totally remember that now. Yeah, and then after the show, we went to Spook Road. Anybody who was at that Sioux Falls show or who's from there, they know what I'm talking about. It was really cool, and there's like all these trees hanging over the road, and we went at night. And I think some people went swimming. There was like a swimming hole there or something.
Yeah,
that
but
Sioux Falls show was pretty great.
you're failing to remember that I think before we even did that whole thing, we actually went to a show after our show. Hot Water Music was in town when we played, and we went and saw Hot Water Music like down the street.
Wasn't Motorhead playing that show too?
Who?
Was Motorhead playing that show with Hot Water Music?
What?
What band?
Motorhead?
No.
I don't remember that.
Was that in Indianapolis?
Motorhead.
You don't remember that?
I don't remember.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry, that was complete different.
If we ever ended up at a Motorhead show, I would have remembered.
We definitely did. It was in Indiana.
Really?
Oh my.
Yeah. Yeah, it was when we were touring with them, and not with Orchid, with the other guys. It was like freaking before we even started our tour. There was a show like when we came in town. I'm sorry to get off point.
No. I totally remember that too. What other shows stick out? I mean, yeah, the Sioux Falls one. That one's always been one that stuck out to me.
Yeah, I've talked about that show with Nick Bishop, who I did that interview with like quite a long time ago actually, but Sioux Falls came up as well, and yeah, I think that's definitely one of my fondest memories, playing like just in a living room full of kids and having that electricity in the air, and just there's also, I think during that time, that particular show, I think there was a lot of excitement around Orchid because they had just did their 12-inch LP on Abolition, and I think there was like a lot of buzz around that.
Right.
Right. And that was our first tour with them, so all we had was the Amalgamation split at the time.
Yeah.
So it was like a real moment, with them having done that first LP. I don't even remember exactly how we linked up with them and how we did that tour with them, but we just kind of became friends with them, right? Like, I actually don't remember how we became friends with Orchid.
I can't think of it to save my life either.
I can. So, we were at we played at Studio 159 in Providence, Rhode Island together, and I think that Will or Jay came up to us and they were like, "Man, that was really awesome." After we played our set, and I don't think we'd even really, maybe we'd heard of them, but we didn't really know what they were all about yet.
Well, I think we knew about. You had their 7-inch that was put out by Witching Hour. I think that one. I think. Oh, didn't they do a split with like Pig Destroyer or someone?
Pig Destroyer, sure.
And
maybe I did. I don't remember.
But either way, that's right. I remember when they were at that show. I don't remember who else we played with, but.
I don't either. I don't remember that much, but I do remember. That's where we made our connection, and we became friends right away. I mean, because they really connected with us in that way. Like as much as they could, they got us. They totally understood us. They didn't think we were weirdos or anything. They were just like, "Hey, you're just like us," and we became tight right away. And, I mean, I think shortly after that, they invited us to play at Hampshire College, where Will and did Will go to Hampshire? I don't remember. Well, a bunch of them went to Hampshire College, and
Will
they invited us to play.
Will and Jay did, and
and Brad.
Yep.
Yeah. So they invited us to play out there in one of their dorms, and that was where I put my headstock through the wall. I think. I can't remember though. But yeah, it was that Studio 159 show in Providence where we became friends with Orchid. A show that sticks out to me, if you guys don't remember, but Wilkes-Barre Fest. I don't remember what year it was.
Yeah.
But Wilkes-Barre Fest was legit. We had so much fun. You remember just the whole day leading up to our playing. There was just like this tension building in the air. Like, all the bands were playing before and kids were having a good time, but there was like this buzz going on. And then when we started playing, that like they turned off the lights and it was in like this dingy warehouse space, and they opened like the cargo door where you would load the trucks, and then it was just the lights, and they shut off the lights, like the lights had been on all day until we played, and then you could just feel the tension while we were standing there waiting to play. You know, we were like letting that tension build, and then the lights went out, and then we started playing, and just kids went ape shit. It was just chaos. I remember, like, Erik, you were talking about, you almost hit a kid across the face with your drums, or with your drumstick, because he fell into your drums, and then there was the whole flower water fight. Like, people were, like, spraying water and throwing flour around, and I remember between every song, I would take my giant bottle of water, and I would just, like, kind of throw water over my head, and I could just hear kids like yelling, "Oh!" You know, because they were getting hit by the water. Yeah,
so
Wilkes-Barre Fest was a good one for me.
It's funny because I actually don't remember that one that clearly, but when you kind of describe it, I do remember when we were there and how there was a particular tension or anticipation. But one,
I remember the sound guy was like. So he was like so confused by us when we were setting up and what we wanted to do. That feedback probably killed him.
Oh my God, you just reminded me. Feedback, right? Remember when we played in Knoxville? I think it was Knoxville.
Mm-hmm.
And people were just being really obnoxious while Rishi was playing. Do you guys remember that?
Yeah, I remember.
It was like in a bar. And Rishi was that our last tour? Was Rishi with us on our last tour? I think it was. But we were in like Knoxville.
That was the tour, but that was I don't think it was.
No, maybe it wasn't. But we some things are hazy, some things aren't, but some things are very clear. And I remember we were just pissed off, and I remember Nick being like, "Can you shut the fuck up?" And they started like being more antagonistic. I think they probably had a lot to drink and they were drunk. So, but Rishi's music was really quiet at the time, and so we got really mad. So we set up our equipment, and before we played, Nick and I just leaned our guitars against our amps and we left. We just let it feed back for like 10 minutes. And those people that were being dicks, they just left. They were like, because it was super, super excruciating, especially your feedback. And then we went and we played, and we were just like, we had an extra level of being pissed off during that show. So
I feel like we had a lot of shows like that where we were almost reactive in a way to keep people in the crowd, or they almost like stacked on top of what we were already ready to do. But on the topic of shows and favorite shows, a couple stand out to me. Like, one show that I really thought was special was the show we played with Seisha at ABC No Rio. It was their last show ever, and for me, like, I think we all really liked Seisha at the time. We really appreciated them as people, and we dug their music. They were doing something really special with their version of hardcore, and I just remember and ABC No Rio is also its own iconic establishment. So those two together and having played their last show was a memorable one for me. And then Jeff, remind us, what was the one where I threw a cinder block in the air?
That was actually in Connecticut. That was in New Haven at, I forget the name of the place. It was like some art center.
Why did I do that?
Because you're an asshole.
Yeah. Why?
That's really why. I mean, you're like, I'm going to do this, and everybody's going to look at that, and then we're going to come in.
No, I think it was actually because people weren't being really nice to us. I think that New Haven show was during a time when people were still making it really difficult.
Yeah. You're right. You're right.
People were being kind of shitty, and I think that was a reaction towards that. Now that I think about it, I think there was a period, and ironically, on a local level, that certain people weren't very accepting of us as a band, and I never knew why. And I think that cinder block incident was me just being an asshole for sure. But also, but it was almost symbolic in a way to just say, well, in so many words, fuck you, we're going to play no matter what. And I felt like we were put in that position unfairly. And I get it, kids when they're young and cliquey and others are doing something a little bit left of center and not in a traditional way, then you're going to get resistance from that. And it's just kind of ironic because it's punk rock. It's like when you're in like an underground DIY hardcore scene and you're still dealing with that kind of resistance. It's like, come on, come on, But whatever, that was small potatoes in the bigger picture. So.
Yeah.
I got one.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, I totally forgot about that, but now it makes perfect sense to me. There was this weird tension in the first year and a half.
It never really let go. Like it, I don't know. Like a lot of people just.
You think?
I don't know. It just. I don't. To me, that's what it seemed like. It seemed like a lot of people just still, like later on in that, still felt the same. I don't know. People always just acted different.
I think in a weird way, like our path to becoming a band that was always touring and going all over the place. I almost feel like there was a level of resentment because maybe the local scene felt betrayed or something, which is really fucking stupid. Because why wouldn't a band go on to do their own thing and to play shows everywhere and wherever they could? I mean, it was almost like we were being snubbed for that. And honestly, I can't think of one in particular. Like, I can't think of particular individuals. It was almost like an overall, just kind of overarching energy back home. And
it was like a shunning.
Yeah.
Everybody just kind of shunned us.
Yeah. Oh well.
Yeah. What were you? So Nick, you were gonna say you had a couple.
Yeah. All right. So one show that's memorable to me, even though it wasn't like crazy, it was pretty small, pretty quiet. It was Alex's freaking house. The first tour when we were leaving, and we were playing with Kyle, Greg Burns, and all those guys.
Oh yeah. What was their band called?
You had to ask that. That's why.
That's why you called them Kyle and Greg Burns and those guys.
Wait a minute.
Oh my God! Is it End of the World Party?
Wait, what? Okay. Well, wait. You need to back up and not have Jeff call you out on not knowing the band name.
I know. Now everybody in New Haven is going to hate us even more.
Oh well.
So wait, what's the show? It was in New Haven?
To edit.
No, Alexander Keys.
Alexander Keys.
The second time we played there, right?
In Reading.
Was it the second or third? I think we played there 3 times.
Wasn't that the first time?
No, the first time was our first show.
Oh,
no, second
right.
show. Second show.
You're right.
First show was at the Space in Worcester.
Okay, yeah. So then it was when we were leaving for our first tour.
Right.
And I want to say End of the World Party for some reason.
Something like that.
No, but
you're on the right track.
Our first show in Reading was with Amalgamation and Dillinger Escape Plan.
Yeah, that was our second show ever.
Okay.
Yeah.
But the one you're talking about was when we were leaving for our first tour when we were in the station wagon. Then we drove to Little Rock, and then we drove to Phoenix, and then we drove to San Mateo, and then we drove.
We almost didn't make it
to Tallahassee. Right.
Slipping.
Right. We were like, should we go back?
Oh, we were so nervous. I mean, it's a miracle that we got across the country and back in that station wagon.
I think that was a pivotal moment for us, not only as a band, but as people. Was that moment when the transmission started slipping, and we all got scared, and we were like, what do we do? And we decided not to go back and to just see what would happen. And so many people in the world would have said, fuck it, let's go back, let's do the safe thing. And we would have never gotten anywhere if we had gone back.
Oh, do you remember in Yuma going up the freaking mountain in that thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
We could have walked faster, man.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
But it was that moment, I think, that changed our lives forever. It was either we're going to go and we're going to do this thing in the unknown and we're going to just make it work, or we can go home and be very safe. And and we decided to take the hard way and see what would happen and do the unknown. And that, I think, made us stronger than ever. Not only as a band, but just as people. Like, after that, I haven't been afraid of really anything in my life. I've been like, okay, well, in hard situations, you're like, okay, this kind of sucks, but I'm going to come through it because I've had all these other experiences. So, but yeah.
Well, I never thought about it like that. The sort of the choice we had to either keep going in that station wagon or to go back. And you're right. If we didn't see through those shows that we booked,
everything would have been different.
It would have been different.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the fact that we got to Phoenix with nothing more than a loose steering belt, or whatever, fan belt rather, and then I'll never forget when, after we did our Half Moon Bay show or wherever that was, San Mateo, or we drove to Tallahassee in about 42 hours.
I was just thinking about that trip.
40.
It was 40. 40. It was 40.
I mean,
sorry, I remember that very well.
We realized that we did not stop. I mean, we rotated per fill up. Like every fill up, we rotated, and we wouldn't stop.
No, it was 8 hours. It was 8-hour shifts we did.
Yeah. And we made it to Tallahassee, and we played in we played at the Cow House.
Cow House, yeah. Yeah.
Pretty nuts.
Wait, so going back though, what was memorable? What was memorable about that show to you, Nick? Sorry, I hijacked it.
It's just the whole thing, just playing that night, and it was just, this is where we started everything. Yeah. Kind of never lost sight in my mind.
You're kind of right. I mean, we had played, I don't know, maybe 10 or 15 shows before that, and and then we did that, and then we came back, and we were completely changed. And that was when we started to really do some things that we felt were really special. I mean, we felt like we were doing special things before that, but after that tour, we were like, okay, this is the real deal. So,
well, I think that initial tour kind of established our not necessarily our identity, but maybe our confidence.
Yeah, it gave us the confidence that we knew we could do it.
Yeah, and that kind of just set us up to just take it to the next place, wherever that ended up being, and it kind of just and I think after that tour, it kind of just didn't stop. We were always figuring out how to kind of reinvent ourselves musically, and whether it was like isolated moments where it's like, okay, what's the most, what am I trying to say? Like, I guess musically, like, oh, never mind, scratch all that. I'm not making a clear point. I'm just kind of thinking like how I guess that first tour set the tone of us being our own group. You know what I mean? Like we did that completely on our own, and we came back with this sort of newfound confidence and perspective on the idea that we could take it anywhere we want, basically. Both physically and sonically. Like we could literally just get in a van or a fucking $350 station wagon or an eventual like proper van and go anywhere. And we did. And I mean, I can't even remember half the shows and places we've been, but they all involved a basement or a living room and a couch to sleep on if we were lucky. And do you guys remember that
I always
time?
slept on the floor.
Yeah, and do you remember that time?
It was too long for the couch.
Well, there was a time when we stayed in the movie theater in Virginia. Wasn't that the case?
Oh, that was awesome.
What? I don't remember that. We stayed in the movie theater?
With Page 99.
Yes.
We slept there?
Mike knew somebody that worked there or something, or I don't remember exactly. You don't remember that?
No.
Oh man.
Come on, tell me the story.
Well, I think we had played a basement show with Page 99 in Richmond, I guess. And I guess that night they're like, oh, well, we're all going to just like stay in this movie theater. It was like some local movie theater. And I just remember it being there was like maybe 10 of us, 12 of us, like just some band people, some like friends, and like I think we just stayed in the theater. But there was like no sleeping away. It was like there was nothing. I think if I remember correctly, like we didn't really sleep that night. I don't know. I think it was like it wasn't like the most ideal.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
But
When was that? Like, which tour was that on?
I have no idea. Nick?
I don't know if that was on tour or if that was when we were just
there
going for a weekend or something. Like weekend shows.
It might have just been like a weekend thing.
Any other shows you guys remember? I here and there, bits and pieces creep in for me.
I remember when we made grilled cheeses outside of a truck stop. There was like an outlet. We were with Race Band and Utah, and it was like the middle of the night. I can't remember where we were driving, but we were in the middle of nowhere, and I think one of them brought like a hot pocket sandwich maker or something.
It was a George Foreman grill.
Yeah. Someone had a George Foreman grill, and we were making grilled cheeses outside of a gas station. I mean, the lengths we'd go through or go to I don't know, have a hot meal, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, there's like little random stories like that, but I mean, honestly, we could talk for hours about the nitty gritty of tours and people on those tours.
Yeah.
I mean,
even if we haven't mentioned you and you're listening, we don't worry. We know. We still think about you. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I don't even know where to go from. I mean, yeah, definitely like favorite shows. I don't know. I'm kind of running out of. What are some other things that we can touch on that might be worth recording and getting out to the world? I mean,
how about any songs that meant anything to us, or like more than others? You know what I mean? Like, was there a song for you that really did it?
That's a good question. I mean, for me, I think the most cathartic song that we had that I loved, I personally loved playing live, was "A Present for Those Who Are Present."
Yeah.
To me, that was one of the heaviest hitting songs we wrote, and it was one of the most, I think, one of the more impactful songs that we put on the 10-inch. I mean, I know a lot of people talk about is more like a message to you, and that's kind of like it becomes sort of this song that seems to come up quite a bit, and I like it. I like the song on record, but it was in all honesty, it was a fucking hard song to play live. It was really fast.
I know, I was always really tired after that one.
I wanted to kill myself.
Yeah.
But,
yeah, no, "Present for Those Who Are Present" that was probably the
yeah.
one. Like, I would just always channel this just viciousness that was somewhere deep inside of me for that one, and I would always
that's what it was, vicious. And there was just something about it that had a perfect balance of when it needed to hit hard and when it needed to sort of open up for a second, which was literally like a second. But yeah, I don't know, man. I think really, I never really thought about it like that, like individual songs. That one just came to mind just because it really was a fun, heavy song to play, and it was very cathartic for me. But I almost look at what we did as clumps, as sets. It's like there were the moments, there were the times where we played, the songs on Presents, or there were songs where we kind of mixed some of the 10-inch songs with Presents, or we played nothing but the 10-inch, or there was really never a rhyme or reason to what we played, was there?
Yeah.
It's kind of just what we wanted.
Yeah.
we just played what we wanted to play, I guess, and it was the shit that we were rehearsing at the time. Really, that was basically it.
Yeah.
You know, we never had a catalog of songs. You know, it's like if we stopped playing certain songs, then we would more than likely have to relearn them.
Yeah.
It's not like, hey guys,
well,
what do you want to play next? It's like, yeah, let's play FA 306. Like,
Well, I think when we got to the point where we were doing presents, we couldn't go back to the other stuff because I couldn't do it. Mm-hmm. It was just that era of JD is over now, and now we're moving into a new era.
You're right. I stand corrected. We never mixed the songs.
Never.
Yeah.
You know, just one day I said, okay, guys, I'm not going to do this anymore. I remember we were all driving in the car together. We were in Massachusetts, probably in Amherst, and you know, I was like, I just don't feel like doing it. And you guys were like, yeah, all right, that sounds like a good idea. Let's not do that anymore.
Well, that was the thing. I think me and Nick were like, okay, like we. Yeah. I think again, it was just one of those moments where, again, we were on the same page and just like, yeah, that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Let's move on. Mm-hmm. And we did, and it alienated some people. I think a lot of people didn't know how to grab onto the new stuff, but again, that wasn't our problem. So,
yeah. I mean, I've always felt a little bad for the people who were like, "What? This sucks now. This thing isn't good anymore." Like, it's always made me a little bit sad that they weren't able to see why that was what we were going to do naturally. It's like, you know, here's like I would hope that they would think about it in a way that they were like, okay, now they're moving into this new thing and appreciating something different and new, because you know, like, well, in the world we're constantly evolving, sometimes devolving, but change is always going to happen. You can't stay the same forever, or things just get stagnant and boring.
I was going to add one thing to that. Change, right? It's an ironic thing when it comes to the punk rock mentality, because I felt, and again, this is just my personal take on it, that in our world of punk rock, I think a lot of people are actually really against change in a really weird way, and I always find that to be hypocritical of the very approach to everything you take as a punk. This level of resistance towards change is really kind of counterintuitive if you think about it, and I think that's sort of the ties we are up against, like this idea of, oh, we're doing something different, so we can't relate to you anymore, which I find so weird because the spirit was the same. We were still a hardcore band, and we didn't like force it down anyone's throats. We simply carried on with the way we wanted to do it, you know, and that's one thing that actually put me off back then, you know, when it came to being a part of, being a punk. That was one of my least favorite aspects of it was just like this level of hypocrisy and approach. But you know, you kind of acknowledge it and like, all right, well, whatever, and then you just carry on and do it your way, no matter the feeling of isolation or not. Like, but I never felt like we were like squeezed out of anything. I think we you know, there was a level of confidence on our end that I think helped us just carry on the way we did, and that remained true through our last breath, really.
Yeah. And also it's just a relationship, like we've mentioned earlier. You know, we never really fought. I think Nick and I had a little tiff for a minute when we were in the Pacific Northwest because his goddamn strings kept shocking me. And I snapped at him. And we were in the
I remember that.
Yeah, I remember that.
Oh, yeah, because the reason why is because Nick would never clip his strings.
Yeah. And he kept bumping into me, and
Nick,
I would get shocked.
You
were swinging at each other with those guitars. Yeah.
Yeah, we literally played that show where we were like hitting each other, like bumping into each other on purpose while we're playing our songs.
Yeah.
And then you guys were both really mad at me, and I was like, what the fuck? then I think you guys were mad at me for like 2 days, and then we made up, and then that was really the only time we ever had anything, and that was just like a minor, like we were just grumpy with each other, you know, but like,
and that's a given.
But it wasn't a real squabble, you know. It was but going back, I think that's part of it. Like we never, you know, you hear about all these bands all the time that are just like fight like cats and dogs and don't talk to each other, and then you have us, and we were like so tight. We were like, all we did, we just hung out together all the time, you know. We'd go to work, and then we'd come home, and then we'd be together.
Yeah, we would make music.
We lived and breathed together.
We did for sure, and that kind of that brings me to sort of like the end point of the band, where I really don't know. I couldn't tell you exactly why it ended the way it did, because we're kind of acknowledging that we were, you know, a super tight unit, and we lived and breathed what we did together, and in the end, it was a thing where it kind of just like hit a wall, I guess. And of course, if I look back on it now, I think I would have wanted us to have done it differently, because it was such an abrupt ending. I mean, it really was like, again, true JD fashion, just like not making a thing of it, like, oh, this is going to be our last show. It's just like, you know, or like announce the last show. Basically, we just stopped.
Well, you know, I don't know if you remember this, but you made that announcement without telling Nick and I first.
Yeah.
We were both like, wait, what?
Yeah. And that's the one thing that I don't really know what was going on with me at the time, and or what compelled me to stand up or get out from behind my drum kit in mid set, or whenever it was, and I was just like, just want to let everyone know that this is going to be our last show. And I remember the Fascia guys were there, and it was kind of ironic because we had played their last show, and then they were there. And I couldn't to this day explain exactly why that was handled the way it was. But I think I would have done it much differently if I was like if it was me now, for sure. But again, that was how we did things, you know.
Yeah.
And sorry if I sorry if I pulled the rug out from under you guys a bit aggressively. So
that's fine. I mean, from my perspective, I'm glad it happened, because then I was able to do other things in my life. When things happen at certain points, then they lead you to new things. And, you know, I moved to California just about a year later. I moved to New York right after that, and then I was in New York for a little bit less than a year. And then I didn't really like living in New York. I was like, I can't do this. And so I moved to California, and San Francisco, and I've been here since. And if we had kept going, that wouldn't have happened. So, and I wouldn't have met my wife and had my kid. And so, you know, things happen for a reason. But I will say that I was sad that it happened, because I thought that we still had at least one more record in the tank, because I think we were just getting to this point where everything felt right all the time. You know, I always felt a little precarious with everything prior to Presents, but then when Presents happened, I was like, this is real. This is what it's supposed to be. Right. And I feel like there was at least one more record in there, and it would have been even better than Presents. And so I've my whole life after that, I've always been a little sad that we weren't able to tap that well. But, you know, things happen for a reason. So I think Nick wanted to say something too.
I didn't say anything.
Oh, okay.
I was going to. I completely lost track.
But it's true. Everything happens for a reason, and you know the abrupt nature of ending the band. I mean, it was. I guess it was just the thing that I mean, I agree with you. I think that we could have gotten in another, like a proper record, especially with where things were going sonically. I think Presents was a marker of us getting to a different level of playing and creativity. And you know, I've listened to that record on occasion, and it still holds up to me now.
Yeah,
you know,
it
sounds as good as anything out there. I mean, we were obviously very adamant about recording to 2-inch tape and getting it properly mastered, and I'm glad we did. I think
Kurt did a great job.
Yeah. And you know, if I ever did anything at this level again, I would want to work with him again.
Any other things you guys want to talk about, or have we hit a wall here?
No, I think we're good. I think this is. I mean, what I realized while doing this, we could always pick up other shit along the way, and this thing's pretty awesome. So like, you know, we just hit the 3-hour mark, so I think we're good. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I kind of expected that, but you know, but you know, why don't we stop for now?
Okay.
And now that we're on text or on email, I think that's great. You know, it's kind of crazy how long it's been since we communicated with you, Nick. I mean, Jeff and I we talk on occasion, and I've seen Jeff here and there over the years, passing through San Francisco and stuff.
Mm-hmm. And vice versa.
But it's so good to get you on the phone, man. You know.
It's good to talk to you guys.
I mean, it's been a long time, you know, and you come up in conversation a lot. You know, when Jeff and I talk, we chat about the past and just talk about what we've just talked about for 3 hours. You know, you come up a lot in conversation. So I'm glad you're doing it.
Feels like it always felt like there was something missing.
Yeah. It's weird too though, because it's so classic you to fucking pull that shit. And like,
fuck, what a dick.
Where the fuck is Nick?
But we get it. I mean, that's Nick.
There was like a while there where I was like trying to get a few years where I was trying to get a hold of you guys. I didn't have your emails or phone numbers anymore or anything.
Yeah.
Now you do.
Yeah. Well,
we're easy to get.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man. If there's anyone that has direct access, it's fucking you. So anyway, all right, dude, you guys rule. I'm stoked we did this, but you know, it's not the end. We'll be in touch. You know, obviously sooner than later.
Yeah. All right.
Cool. And,
okay.
And I was gonna say, Nick, let's. I mean, I'm sure, like, you know, you and Jeff, whatever, but let's also, we could just chat and do a catch up as well. I think that would be cool too. You know.
Just hit me
like
up.
Jeff and I haven't fucking talked to you in so long, but clearly it's easy to jump back into it without any weirdness.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
It feels like last year.
I wouldn't expect it. All right, dudes, I'm off. Great talking to you.
Yeah. All right, gents.
All right,
cool. We'll talk to you guys soon.
All right.
Okay.
All right, see ya.
All right.
Okay. Have a good night, guys.